When I got this camera, I was like, what? No way! Baby, it's a Leica! And my first thought was, oh my god, this is too much, we have to return it. And my second thought was, okay, wait a minute, why is this not a Hasselblad X2D? It was my birthday. My sister surprised me with this birthday gift because you know how I always casually talking about seeing people carrying these cameras with these little red dots on them and how cool they look and how expensive they are and how legendary Leica is as a camera brand. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry! Oh, I'm gonna cry! But I never actually expect to have one. If I could write a list of the cameras I actually want to try next, a Leica camera would probably be at the very bottom of that list, which, okay, now I sound like an ungrateful piece of crap, but my sister has, knowing nothing about cameras, spent her hardworking money, huge amount of money on this gift. And then my brother, who run all over Shanghai to 4 different Leica stores to actually purchase it and ship it to my hometown for my birthday. And here I am, equally shocked, excited, and deep down confused. And like, what is this? A Leica Q343, a digital camera? I know nothing about Leica. What am I gonna do with this now? So I said to my sister, this is amazing, but this is too expensive and it's unnecessary. I almost felt like, what I do, I don't deserve this. And she said, if you really don't want it, if I got the wrong camera that you absolutely not gonna use it, then go ahead, return it, exchange it, use the money to get something you want, but if not, keep it. I want my sister to walk around with a Leica camera hanging around her neck and feel proud. I sat on it for a week, box unopened, going back and forth, struggling, thinking whether if I should return it because come on, there's nothing to feel proud just because it's a Leica camera. But I will be very proud every time I can tell people my sister and then my brother got me this camera. And for that reason, I decided to keep it. Now this camera is not new to the market, it's been out there for a long while, so I'm not gonna talk you through the specs, the settings, and I'm sure there are already a whole bunch of beautiful unboxed videos out there and a step-by-step how to use this camera video. Speaking of box opening video, I tried to make one myself just because I heard the opening logo will only show once when you first turn the camera on, which makes it the most expensive logo animation ever. $7,000 worth of animation. Leica Q343. When I was filming that box opening video, I just felt so ridiculous doing all that. This is way too much work just for that. I heard this animation is only gonna play once, like the first time you open this camera, and then it will never show. I don't know if that's true, but we got all of this set up for just that shot. So finally I opened it, I told myself, let's just forget about the brand, forget about how much it costs, and forget about all of the technical stuff. Let's just go out and use it as a camera. Well, at least a 43mm is somewhere close to my 50mm comfort zone, so we got that part down already. So what I'm gonna do in this video is to show you the photos I took with it and tell you how I felt along the way with this camera. This is coming from a photographer who pretty much has been solely shooting film for the past few years. Going back to digital is very interesting. The first day I took it out was a sunny afternoon at the park, you know, just to figure out how to use it at least. And that took no time at all. There are really not many buttons to begin with. Once I set it up, I could basically use it like how I use a regular 35mm film camera. Aperture on the lens range, shutter speed on the dial, and the focus range just like any other camera. There's a few extra things. You can shoot it manual or autofocus. I mean, duh, it's a digital camera. And there is a close range focus function that essentially turns this lens into a micro lens. I honestly haven't really experimented with this yet. And there is this crop function on the back. A 43mm will crop into like 75, 90, 120, etc., which I don't understand. Cropping the image in camera doesn't change the focal length. It doesn't give you the same compression, right? And also when you crop in on this camera, it will show you like a guideline on the back screen instead of an actual cropped view. So what exactly is the point? I guess it only makes a little sense because when you play the photo back, on the back screen, it actually shows you the cropped image. I would just say, I don't fully understand this design. Here comes the interesting discovery. Even though I knew I was shooting on a digital camera, but my brain was still in this film camera mode. I was being very careful with each shot not to double shoot unless I had to. 2 years of shooting analog changed my shooting habit more than I realized. And I didn't expect myself to say this. The back screen looks really nice. The color on the screen looks almost like how I see it with my own eyes. Not overly pretty like the Canon screen and not totally blah like the Sony ones. It's just the right amount of vibrance and contrast. And here it gets tricky though. When I imported the raw file into Lightroom, the default Adobe color profile made everything looks terrible. Which should be normal for raw files. They tend to be more flat and more grayed out. I should be used to this. For example, when I was shooting with my Canon cameras, I always know how I want the color and the contrast to be edited later in certain looks and the styles I prefer. But this time, I kept trying to edit the color back to how I saw it on the back screen. I didn't want to make them look stylish. I don't want to add any LUTs, any simulation recipes, no green, no vintage look and all that. I don't want to make them look like film. I want them to look like they were shot on this camera. I want them to look digital, like how it shows me on the back of the screen. It took me a little while to get the color close to that, and later on, I mean much later on, I found the answer to that was embarrassingly simple, which is just shoot JPEG. I know that might sound stupid after, years of shoot raw, to, preserve all the information, all the color depths there is, and always edit so carefully to get a precise look. With this camera, I now just wanted to shoot JPEG and call it done. I once don't believe there's such a thing as straight out of a camera. And now, look where we're at. Back to the basics. Look at the sky, so pretty. After the first try, I started to carrying it everywhere. In the very beginning, I took a few photos, getting back into the mindset of being an everyday photographer. Just, pull out the camera whenever you saw something. It takes time to relearn, but eventually it came back to me and I loved it.
Oh.
Okay.
I had this camera with me during Chinese New Year. I photographed my mom lighting up an incense, my brother holding this fake plastic firecracker. I took it to my grandparents' grave. It had snowed the night before. Let it go!
神经。
And the paper gold nugget we folded looked so shiny under the sunlight that day. The fire we lit to burn all the handmade money to our ancestors burned so hot that I can still feel the heat. I photographed my uncles. I've never photographed before. I took it to a seafood market. I like how the fish look in the water. The color, the bubbles, the way the water moves. That's something I don't see before. The crab looks a little sad. They look like they want to run away. then I took it back to the village where I grew up on New Year's Day. The village committee were trying to bring back the New Year parade. Jump out of the car and trying to capture some. I didn't know they were going to do this year. It's a much smaller group compared to the years before I've done the parade. Just a small drum team and some aunties doing fan dancing this time. Nothing big, but I think that's a good start. I was jumping around, taking photos, completely forgot I only have one battery and I only charged this one battery once before. It actually lasted me quite a long time. So when this camera died on me, I was in the middle of shooting. I wasn't done, so I grabbed the only other camera I had with me at the moment. My Sony FX3. Yeah, a video camera. And with a 16-28mm lens, I was telling myself, okay, this is a full frame sensor camera, and now it's basically a Q328. And then I just took picture on that. At that point, I think the camera didn't matter. The colors didn't matter. The only thing I cared about was what I was capturing.
我从6岁的时候，我就觉得我走在这个村上，我就是那个最美的女人。没想到这么多年过去了，我依旧是。
Like I said in the very beginning, forget about Leica, forget about all of the fancy color science, forget about the great deal of the opal lens and all that. To me, this camera is just a simple, sharp, very easy to use small digital camera. And I started to take photos that I don't think I would take with my other cameras. It's like discovering a new photo personality of myself. It's just so interesting. People who shoot with smaller everyday carry camera like the Record or any other compact point shoot camera may understand exactly what I'm talking about, but this is very new to me. When I started shooting film, I wanted to explore other possibilities with photography and to, slow down and have limitation and relearn how to work with light and all that. And during the past 2 to 3 years, starting from 35mm and then to shooting 645 and then 6.6 and then to 6.7, shooting everything on film formed a new pair of eyes of seeing things, and that's all very great. However, after shooting film for so long, I sometimes find myself focused so much on the aesthetic, like the color grading, the film grain, the depths, the nostalgia of analog. I focus so much on making the image look beautiful. And this camera just seems to brought me back a little bit, make me seeing the little thing in everyday life, taking the photo that may not make sense to anybody else but me. So this is what I love so much about this camera, and this is having a Leica camera means to me. And this is Sam. I'll see you next time. Bye.